I just had a conversation with a professional athlete, and we're talking about, why professional athletes go broke. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why professional athletes go broke. Okay, why professional athletes go broke. So as we all know, we've oftentimes seen situations of people that made millions of dollars over the course of their careers, whether they are basketball players, NBA players, NFL players, especially NFL players, baseball players, professional athletes, right? Super high paying jobs. They make millions of money over their career. Sometimes they make more money than the average person would ever make in their whole lifetime in 1 year. But yet, just a few years after retirement, they go broke. And we're all left to wonder, like, why does this happen? And this happens constantly and consistently, right? It happens constantly and consistently. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about the reasons why that happens. So for the majority of athletes, their career length is usually not more than 5 years. For the NFL, I think the average is probably like even 3 or 4. For the NBA, is maybe about the same 4. But generally for most of these athletes, it's less than 5 years. Now, when you think about when people begin their careers, that is usually the problem. So you have 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, like mostly young men, obviously. People that probably grew up in, poor or middle-class backgrounds that just came to money all of a sudden. So they do not have a situation where maybe their parents or grandparents, where they've had the opportunity to have legacy money that passed down to them. So for them, they go from 0 to $1 million just overnight. So that is typical. That, to me, quite frankly, is the biggest problem here. So that obviously coupled with the lack of financial education and all of those things. But anyway, let me set the picture. Let me paint it for you this way. Think about you when you were 18. And I know for most of us, it's super hard to envision because we tend to think that we would make different decisions. But think about when you were 18 or 20, what you were doing at the time. Maybe you were in school or you were learning a trade. You were just a regular guy, just messing around or just hanging out with your friends, maybe playing video games, or just going out to play basketball. Now look at that and translate that to you having to be a professional where this is your job, and on top of that, this is your job where you're doing something that you love, basketball, baseball, football, but on top of that, you are getting paid millions of dollars annually, right? So for most of these professional players, the way that it typically works is, let's say you make $10 million a year and you sign a 5-year contract. So that is, in theory, $50 million. How much is the take home, right? By the time you take out all of your taxes, the tax is not just you saying you pay the tax in the state, in the state that you live in, or the federal taxes. You have the federal taxes. You also pay usually taxes in all of the places that you play. So let's say you play for the Lakers, right? And then you have to go to all of these cities or these other states. You have to go play in Detroit, in Michigan. You have to go play in Illinois, in Chicago. You got to go play in New York. You got to go play in New Jersey. I don't know. You got to go play in Arizona, all of these places, Texas. Typically, you pay state taxes in some of those states as well, right? You pay state tax in addition to the state where you're based, where if you, like I said, if you are based in a particular state and you go play in all of these different states, you pay state taxes in all of those states as well. Now, so that's that. You take away your agent fees, which is, who knows, maybe 1%, 2%, 1%, you wish, 2%, 3%. You take away federal taxes. But anyway, by the time everything is taken out, Social Security, all of this other stuff, you're probably going home with maybe about 5 million. So about 50% of your income, maybe between 50 and 60%, because your federal income tax, you're going to be paying at the highest bracket anyway. So that right there, you know what I'm saying? So you're probably going home anywhere, I would say between, estimating now, anywhere from maybe about 4.5 million to 6 million is what your take-home pay is going to be. Okay, so let's go with the top line number. So let's say you're going home with 6 million. 6 million is your take-home, which is great. I mean, nobody is crying for you here. You have $6 million, and let's use the NFL as an example. The NFL typically have about 18 games, right? 18 games in a season. And 6 million, you divide that over the number of weeks, right, that you're playing. So essentially, you're going home with maybe a little over 300,000, 300 and something thousand, let's say $330,000. $330,000 per week over 18 weeks. Now, you're a 20-year-old guy. Maybe you get paid, twice a month, right? So twice a month, really, you're talking about over 600 grand that'll be hitting your account every 2 weeks. Let's say your team pays you every 2 weeks. So every other, say, Friday, as an example, you are getting 650 grand, $660,000. Like you before you even turn around and do anything, you're getting $600,000 in your account. Maybe the most that you've seen before that is probably you getting, I don't know, $500, $1,000 in your account. Maybe if you're lucky, $5,000 in your account. Now, I'm just talking about your weekly wage here, right? For some of these folks, they actually have sign-on bonuses as well. And in this case, if they have like a $5 million sign-on bonus or a $10 million sign-on bonus, they get that lump sum, $6 million. You get boom, in your bank account. Now think about that. You're 20 years old. You just got $6 million in your bank account. And then every week for the next 18 weeks, you're getting $330,000. What are you going to do with that? You're not going to know what you do with that money. You are now in a situation where you can basically afford to buy anything that you need. Now, I'm not saying anything that you want. There goes the big difference as to why these folks go broke. Because they don't seem to be able to differentiate their needs from their wants. You need housing. You need food. Like, you need to invest in your body, because at the end of the day, as a professional athlete, your body is what is keeping you, is making money for you. So what you eat, you want to make sure you're eating the right types of food, and if you the right types of exercise outside of the facility, of your facility, those kinds of things, right? But any other thing, you need a nice apartment, maybe a nice house, whatever. You needed a nice car. But really, there is a big range of what constitutes a nice house or a nice car. You can get a $500,000 house that is totally fine, that you're going to be fine with on that salary. A $400,000 house, a $600,000 house. Or you could go get a $5 million house. Now again, do you need that or do you want that? And this is where a lot of young athletes that have come into money, this is where they go broke. So that's what that. The lack of financial education, right? The lack of institutional financial knowledge, the lack of having people around you that can pass that down to you. For some of these folks, they don't know anything about taxes, as an example. How are they going to file their taxes? Because now, they have to start thinking. You can't just go to your H&R Block, or you can just use, the regular tax software. You have to have the right people around you, the right financial advisors, the right tax advisors around you, the right attorneys. And the other thing is, there is a big difference between, for instance, filing taxes and tax strategy. Now, I'm talking about taxes now, right? When you talk about finance, there's a lot of things that come into that, like, what do you buy? How do you buy it? And what are your obligations moving forward? What do you buy? You need to buy a house, you need to buy a car. Do you buy the $1 million house? Or do you buy the $500,000 house right now? Do you buy the $400,000 car, or do you buy the $70,000 car right now, right? And how do you buy? Do you buy them in your personal capacity, right? Do you buy these assets in your personal capacity, or do you have a structure? Do you set something up in place where these entities are the ones that are making these transactions on your behalf? So that way you're limiting your liability and exposure, because guess what? Once athletes have money, once they start making money, we all know they become magnets for all sorts of problems. People come out of the woodwork, and all sorts of crazy things start to happen. Now, again, as I was saying, for most of these athletes, and it's not really their fault. They don't know what they don't know. They don't have these people around them that are looking out for them. So what they have around them are sharks, people that are looking to make money off of them. You have the agents. Maybe the agent, sometimes the agents are good, but guess what? The agents also have 5, 6, maybe 10, 20 other people that they're looking after. And sometimes, for most of the time, some of these agents, especially the big time agents, they have superstars on their rosters, and they usually focus on those superstars. So yeah, they may pass you off to like a financial advisor or some other person, but usually those guys, they don't even know what they're doing either, because as someone that I've talked to, I have talked to numerous financial advisors over the years. And one thing that I've found is most of these financial advisors don't know what the hell they're doing. I've talked to even people that tax advisors as well. They don't know what they're doing. What most people know how to do is just to file regular tax, right? They can file your taxes as for the average person. That's really what they do. But when you're talking about tax strategy for someone that is high net worth, it is a totally different ballgame that you're talking about. They cannot give tax advice. They cannot give tax strategic advice. Like they cannot help structure purchases, acquisitions, investments, businesses, things like that in a way that is efficient. Again, this is one of the reasons why these athletes go broke, because they don't have the benefit of knowing all of these little things, these nuances. They don't have that benefit around them. So you're someone that is getting 600 grand every 2 weeks. What are you going to go do? You're thinking, sure, I'm going to go buy the $250,000 car. You've seen everybody else. Maybe you see the veteran on your team doing the same thing. You're thinking that's what you should be doing as well. One of the biggest skills that these athletes do not have also is the power and ability to say no. They usually have yes men around them, people that will not necessarily tell them the truth and tell them like, look, don't do that. Like people that are really looking out for them, people that can be firm with them, people that can tell them that is terrible. But they have all these friends, people that they're just hanging out, around them that are going to be yes men. Why? Because he's supporting their lifestyle. They're probably flying first class together. They say, oh, let's go to Miami. And in one day, they all charter a flight. They drop 25 grand on a private jet that takes them. All of these monies, all of these amounts, they add up. And obviously, in the off season is one of the worst times for these athletes, because they are not in training. They don't have games. They have all the time in the world to be looking at their money and to be doing whatever the heck they want. But really, the off season is really when, if you are an athlete or somebody that just came up to money, to really be thinking to yourself like, okay, how do I start making this money work for me? And you start small, which goes into the next mistakes that they make. A lot of them make bad investments. And the reason they make bad investments is because you have all sorts of people around them that just introduce them to things that are high risk type investments and things like that. If you look at some of the richest people on earth, there is this myth out there that says you take a high risk, you get high reward. But for rich people, that is a myth. What they do is they take either no risk for high reward or very low risk for high reward. Again, if there's anything else, if you're an athlete as an example, or someone that is just watching this, and this is not just for high net worth people. The biggest thing that you can, if there's one thing that you get out of this video, it is that what you want to do is take low risk, calculated risk for high reward, or no risk for high reward. Now, what do I mean by that? Oftentimes, for any investor, you have to put a lot of your money down. And this is where you really need to, people don't have access to certain kind of strategies that can allow you or enable you to have certain types of assets that you can now use as collateral, so you don't put all of your other assets at risk, right? So again, risk management, and not safe investments, but investments that are high reward, that certain kinds of people have access to, especially people with certain types of net worth. Those are the kind of investments that you want to be going after. There is a concept called are you a qualified purchaser? I mean, obviously, if you're an athlete, you're a qualified purchaser. You can invest in funds, for instance. You have certain access to certain types of fund sponsors, private equity funds, maybe some VC type funds. You look at their history and see how they've performed over the years. Oftentimes, they've done well. They've done really well. But for you to be able to have access to these investments, you need to satisfy a certain kind of net worth some threshold for your net worth. And this is what most regular folks don't have, but athletes already have, because of the kinds of money that they are making now. But the thing is, they don't even know that this exists for them out there, because they don't have the right people around them. As I said earlier, a lot of financial advisors don't know what the heck they're doing. They are just there telling folks to put their money in low-risk investment or the stock market or stuff like that. No, it's not to say you don't put your money in the stock market, but that should be part of your investment strategy. Depending on your risk profile, you should be really taking a look and talking to you about what your goals are, looking at your family and financial situation, essentially being the fall guy for you and putting you on a budget. They should be putting you on a budget. Understand, like, okay, you're gonna, in terms of your income, what goes directly to your account, right? You have 5 million coming in this year. Your financial advisor or your advisor, your business advisor, should be the person telling you that, okay, all you're gonna get this year is 2 million. I don't care what you do with it. You're gonna get 2 million, that goes into all of your maintenance. If you blow it one time, that's your business. So what that does is it starts disciplining you in the event that maybe you get injured, or the athlete gets, they get injured or anything like that. They will have the opportunity, they will have maintained a certain kind of disciplined lifestyle. It is easier to scale back from that. Say, for instance, in your third year, your fourth year, you're just the average person, but you have like $3 million, $4 million in your account and you are 23. Guess what? You can do a lot with that moving forward. You have $3-4 million in your account at a 23-year-old and you're retired, maybe for whatever reason you had some sort of career-ending injury. Then maybe you start thinking to yourself, what can I do with this money? But guess what? The most important decision that you made was when you started out, because you put that money away and you are now you've been accustomed to a certain kind of lifestyle that is not married to that wealth. So yeah, I mean, again, for athletes, as I said, one of the biggest mistakes that they make is the financial situation. They come into sudden money and they do not have the infrastructure in place to help them manage that money. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, all right?